In this video, we're going to be changing the oil in my little HiLux. Since we'll be raising the front of the car, make sure to put some bricks under the rear tyres for safety. Make sure the car's in gear and the handbrake's on. This is everything we'll need to do the oil change. Make sure you've got a good jack. We'll be using the tyres to keep the car raised. An oil pan. Tools. Fresh oil and an oil filter. And it's optional, but I'd highly recommend a tarp to lay on. Check your owner's handbook of what type of oil to use. Now we're going to lift the car up. So these tyres are a little bit too tall to fit under, even when our jack's fully extended. So we'll have to figure something else out. So we're going to use a brick instead of the tyre. The brick gives us enough clearance anyway. The HiLux isn't that low, so that should be plenty to get under there. So now we just have to do it to the other wheel. Even if the car is on bricks, I'll still leave the jack under there somewhere, just in case the bricks fail. You always want to be safe when working with cars. So now we want to open the bonnet. Now we have our tarp down, we can get under the car and start dropping some oil. Okay, now we're under the car. We'll be draining the oil from here. That's our sump plug. Make sure you've got a pan under it so you're not dropping oil all over the ground. So we're just going to pull out that bolt. Now we've loosened it with the ratchet, we can undo it by hand. Alright. This is where it gets messy. I'm going to try to avoid getting spill all over you. Oh. We're going to wipe our sump plug off, just to make sure there's no debris around the edges. I know I didn't mention it before, but having paper towels and working with oil is really good. So now that oil is draining into the pan, we're going to take off the oil filter and we're going to replace that as well. The oil filter is that white thing right there. All you have to do to get it off is simply unscrew it. And that always makes a nice mess. So now that the oil filter's off, we're just going to wipe around the area to make sure no dirt or anything gets in when we install a new one. It's also a good idea to take the oil filler cap off. It allows air in the top and lets the oil flow out better from the bottom. Whenever you're putting on a new oil filter, you should always put a light film of oil just around the top here on this O-ring. All you have to do is get a little bit on your finger. And that should be enough there. Now we just screw the new one back on. Now you only do them up hand tight. Alright, now that the sump's pretty much empty, we're going to wipe that area around where the plug goes in, just to make sure there's no contaminants that can get back into the sump. Now that our sump plug's all clean, we can put it back in. It's impossible to get every single drop of oil out, so don't worry about the dripping. Now in tightening this up again, don't do it too tight, otherwise you'll strip the threads. Alright, now it's starting to tighten up. Give it a little nip. And that should be more than enough. Okay, we have the 22R engine with the filter, so we put in 4.3 litres of oil. So one of our oil jugs is 4 litres, so we know we put in one full one of those and just a little bit of the other. We're going to pull our dipstick out and give it a clean, and then we're going to put it back in. And now we can start pouring in some new oil. Now I get to clean up that massive mess I just made. So that was 4 litres, now we're just going to pour in another 300 mils. And we put our oil cap back on. Now we can take the car off the bricks once we've removed that oil pan. I like to do a quick check on my oil before I start the motor, just to have an idea of where it's at. It looks good to me. Make sure you take the car out of gear before you start it. And when starting it after an oil change, you only run it for about 10 to 15 seconds. Just to make sure that it has enough oil. Alright, now we're going to let it sit for a bit and check it. Now the car's been sitting for about 5 minutes, that should have given the oil enough time to settle. So now we can pull the dipstick out and check it. I've just wiped it off with the paper towel so I can get a fresh reading. Right, let's see where we're at. Not sure how well the camera can see that, but that's exactly on full. And that's how you do an oil change.